Jordan Love, 20 of 27 for 229, 2 touchdowns. Josh Jacobs, 26 carries for a little under 100 yards, 94 yards, 1 touchdown, 4 catches, 42 yards. Did lose a fumble, punched out by Ernest Jones. They controlled the game from start to finish, but Geno Smith is the big story of this game. Obviously, the Seahawks losing, being tied with the Rams for first in the division, but the Rams have the tiebreaker. So currently, they're on the outside looking into the playoffs. But Geno Smith, 15 of 19, 149 yards, did have the interception in the end zone to Valentine. That injury is going to tell the season for the Seahawks. It's going to, if he doesn't come back, I think that wraps it up for the Seattle Seahawks. You need your starting quarterback in the National Football League, and he's leading the NFC in a number of categories. So to lose him is a critical blow to this team, who have been rolling since the bye week, their first loss since the bye week. The defense have been playing incredibly well. This game obviously didn't play their best and just struggled on both sides of the football. Struggled to move the ball offensively when they got down there, couldn't execute in the red zone, couldn't get the ball in the end zone, didn't run the ball as well as they had in previous weeks. They did have a big run by Zach Charbonnet, but he only had 8 carries for 54 yards because they were trailing so much of the game. They were down 14 points before you could blink, and never really recovered. Whenever they got opportunities like the Ernest Jones fumble, they did turn that into 7 points, but 2 trips to the red zone and 2 field goals out of it isn't going to get the job done. They do have an opportunity against the Rams late in the season if they can keep up with them and keep it tied, to settle this thing once and for all. But Jackson Smith and Jigba, another consistent game, 10 catches, 83 yards. DK only 3 catches. Tyler only 1 catch. And Leonard Williams still has a good game, but no sacks, no interceptions in this game. Leonard did have a couple TFLs on very critical plays on 3rd and 4th down. But that's the story. They weren't able to get to Jordan Love and get him on the ground. They were able to put some pressure on him, put him under duress, but it didn't lead to any interceptions. They were able to get the forced fumble from Jacobs, which was led to points, but just not enough. And it seemed like in the second half they found their rhythm, found a way to get these guys stopped, found a way to stop the run. Outside of the chunk play to Romeo Doubs on Witherspoon, they pretty much held him in check, held him to 3 points until that point, where they took a shot late in the game, unexpected situation. You thought they were going to keep running the football, and they didn't. This is a tough loss for the Seattle Seahawks. Obviously still first-year coach Mike Macdonald, things to overcome and things to clean up, but this one hurts. And for all the fans that thought, hey, Sam Howell, we need to replace Geno. We can do so much better than Geno. Again, I've been telling you, behind this offensive line, who has struggled most of the season, it's tough for any quarterback to be successful. This offensive line gave up 7 sacks today. That's tough. Some of them were on Sam Howell holding the ball too long, but literally the pocket crumbled in front of him. It crumbled around him. There have been some good plays, some good changes in this offensive line, but they lost another center today. The new right guard, the new right tackle, Abe Lucas, has been really solid this season, but this is one of those games. You're playing against a team that's really talented, that has a lot of really talented pass rushers, and you saw it. You saw what a difference that could make against this team, and this was a potential 3-6 playoff matchup, and thank God you didn't have to wait to the playoffs to see that this would be an issue, and that's how they're going to attack you if they see you again. If they do run into the Seattle Seahawks again in the playoffs, they're going to attack. They're going to bring pressure consistently, whether it's Sam Howell or Geno banged up back there. Jeff Hafley sees that they can get to the quarterback. Whether it's rushing 4 or sending 5, they're going to be able to get there. And I think that's something that isn't going to get cleaned up this season. It's been a really good season to figure out who your playmakers are, develop an identity for this defense, and I think they have done that. I think they found out Ernest Jones and Tyrese Knight are their linebackers of the future. I think they understand they have a really good defensive line. They got a really talented secondary, really talented receiving core, and you have to clean up this offensive line. Obviously, K9 is injured. You know what you have in him. But right now, that offensive line is going to be the thing that holds you back. And I know everybody's going to say, oh, man, that Geno play, if he would have just done it. When you're under duress and under constant pressure, knowing that there's only so many opportunities you're going to get to the red zone and a chance at points, you got to give your team a chance to make a play. He tried to give his receiver a chance to make a play. Unfortunately, it landed in the defender's hands, and it didn't work out. But if the Seahawks can find a way to compete in this game versus the Vikings, which is going to be a tough ask. The Vikings are 11-2, and they're not a fluke 11-2. They have a really good defense. Flores is going to bring a lot of pressure, a lot of very exotic looks. And offensively, Kevin O'Connell is going to draw it up as good as anybody. So they're going to have to find some answers to that and find a way to change the narrative and be really disruptive on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to have to maybe block a kick or something, make a play on special teams. Darden has come in and really energized the special teams unit in terms of the returns that he had, giving good field position to the offense. But that was a tough one to watch. That was a tough one to watch because every time you felt like a team was going to make a play, that they were going to do something great, that man, this is going to be the one that turns it around. Green Bay muffed the punt. Nobody recovered it. They got it back. They made a play on Jordan Love where it looked like it could have been a fumble. He recovered it. So not even worth challenging. You got to find a way to make those plays. You got to find a way to get those. That's the way you win those games, especially out at home. But the most discouraging part was probably the Green Bay fans, the "Go Pack Go" chants that you're hearing in Lumen Field. That's something I don't ever remember hearing. I don't ever remember hearing the opposing team's chants in our home stadium. But that's a story for a different day. I think this is going to be one of those situations they're going to look and they're going to learn from, and hopefully Geno's okay and it's not a serious injury. He wasn't able to come back, but hopefully he's able to bounce back by next week and he's able to play against the Minnesota Vikings, or I think that's going to be a tough one to come out of with a win. Oh, that's going to be a tough one. That's going to be a really tough one. If Geno Smith isn't able to play, I think, and people don't appreciate him in Seattle. Like I told people, it's not easy to play the quarterback position under this kind of pressure consistently. And you think you can do so much better than him, but you're not going to be drafting high enough. You're already 8 wins in. So you're probably picking 16, 17. If you get 2 more wins, you're probably picking 24, 23. You're not going to be able to get a quarterback next year. So Geno's the answer right now. So support the quarterback you have and a quarterback who actually has been putting up good numbers behind an offensive line that hasn't been blocking great. So this was a tough one. I thought this would be a good game for if Seattle won this one to be able to put a stamp on this season and have a real quality win and go into next week feeling really good that you beat the Green Bay Packers and you can beat the Minnesota Vikings. Not that they can't beat the Minnesota Vikings even after this, but it just looks really bleak right now. And if you're the Rams, you got a much easier schedule going down the stretch. And hopefully if Seattle loses this game, it gives a cushion to the LA Rams. And that's, it's going to be exciting down the stretch. It's going to be exciting. That's why the league designs the schedule this way, because they want it to be exciting. They want it to be nail biting down the stretch. And that's what they got. They got what they wanted. They got what they deserved. And I ain't mad at them for it. But now we got to talk about this Buffalo game. And this is our Uber Eats segment. So you know what time it is. Time for a hat switch.